Welcome to video number 4 of a 10-part video series called Adapting to Project Professional 2010. In this video we're going to talk about a new feature in Project 2010 called manual scheduling. When you run Microsoft Project, by default, you'll see this new bubble here that says new tasks are created in manually scheduled mode. This video is going to focus on what that new feature is. So, Microsoft designed this feature so that Project was more Excel-like in nature. Let's take a look at what you can do with manually scheduling. So, I'm going to go ahead and type a new task here. And notice when I press enter what happens to the duration, start, and finish field of task 1. Note that there are no details filled in. If you're using Microsoft Project 2007 or a lesser version, 2000-2003, you'll notice that when you create a new task, it actually shows you a duration, a start, and a finish. In 2010, by default, they're set to manually scheduling, which means that you don't actually need this information filled in. The reason for that is that you might just say, for example, know the duration but don't quite know the start and finish date yet. And you'll notice the Gantt chart on the right hand side. It's showing 5 days. The task is right now just starting at the beginning of the project because project doesn't know where else to put it, and finishing on this Friday. And notice that the Gantt chart bar is kind of faded in and out, basically saying it's not sure if those are the actual start and finish dates, but that's its best guess. So if I go ahead and fill in a date, let's make it the 17th, Project will automatically calculate the start and finish date for me. And if I scroll over here, you'll see that the Gantt chart now is displaying these brackets around the bar. Those brackets essentially represent the fact that the project is not calculating the dates, but you're entering that information into the start and finish. I'm going to go ahead and set this to auto scheduled. And note that project is now calculating the dates. It's not keeping the dates that I entered. It put them back to the 10th. And that's because Microsoft Project said, well, those dates you entered were manual dates. I am no longer following that rule. We're calculating based on the schedule. So it actually put it back to the beginning of the schedule. Now if I go back to manually scheduled mode, note that the start and finish dates don't go back to what I originally entered. It just keeps it as to what it was set to back when it was in auto mode. Now another feature of manual scheduling is the ability to enter any kind of text into these fields as well. So for example, let's say I'm doing some top-down planning, meaning I haven't exactly figured out when my project is going to start and finish. There's probably people I need to talk to. The duration field might just say something like probably 10 days, talk to Tim. I can just go ahead and expand this a little bit so I can see it. So that's the duration right now. The start could be Q1 2011. The finish, no later than Q2 2011. And I can just go ahead and enter this information in. Now, mind you, these aren't dates. Project doesn't know what to do with this information. As a matter of fact, I'm just going to scroll to that task. You can see that nothing's showing up in the Gantt chart right now. And the reason for that is because the Gantt chart does not know what to display because I haven't entered the right level of information yet. It will change the minute I start using dates. You can see the bracket just showed up here showing a start date. Notice that there's no finish date. That's because I have a text. I don't have a date in there. Once I set the date, Project will automatically change the Gantt chart to show that information. So before you cringe too much, and I certainly did when I started looking at this, you might be wondering why you would use this task mode called manual scheduling? Well, there's a few reasons for why you might want to do that. First, as I just mentioned, top-down planning is a really good use of this functionality. I'm getting started on a project, I don't know the details, I'm not collecting actuals on it yet, I just want to put some placeholder information into it. So this allows me to go ahead and plug that detail in, and as I get more detail from my teams, I can go ahead and fill that information in and switch over to auto scheduling. Another reason for why I might want to use this feature is imagine a small 1 to 3 month project where you just maybe have a small set of tasks and you just want to be able to track this small grouping of tasks, and you know that things are going to take 15 days, 20 days, 10 days, etc., and you just want to go ahead and plug in the dates. If we don't hit them exactly, if we're not quite sure if we're going to make those dates, not a big deal. We can work around it, but we don't necessarily want to have to create a critical path. This is the reason for why people tend to go and launch Excel and use Excel instead of Microsoft Project. So this new feature of being able to quickly pull together a project plan with a small group of resources and tasks can come in extremely handy. Now, it may not be following best practices, granted, but I think it will help people along this path. You could imagine people will start to become more familiar with project and would more than likely over time want to start using the automated scheduling capabilities. Now, we talk a lot about the new user interface, so I do want to show you some of the ways that we can do this. One is if I wanted to change this from manual scheduling, I could just go ahead to auto schedule in the drop down. The other option is I could use this little drill down like I do in Excel and just set this all to go to automated scheduling. Conversely, I can say I want everything to be manually scheduled. The other option I have, with the task tab at the top, I can go over here and you can see that there's manual and auto scheduling. I can just click on that button. You can see the task changes between auto and manual scheduling. Now, you may want to change the default for how project sets this up when you run it for the first time. You might want all your projects to automatically be auto scheduled instead of manually scheduled. To do that, we go to the File Backstage, we go to Options, we can click on Schedule, and then if we go down here to the bottom of the screen, you'll see that scheduling options for this project or for all new projects, we can turn off manually scheduled and say auto schedule all new projects that I work with and click OK. Next time you run Microsoft Project, all new tasks will be automatically scheduled. Note that this did not change the manually scheduled tasks, it's only for new tasks and new projects.